Hey everyone, welcome to the PFF Betting Podcast. I am your host, Kendall Valenzuela. Joined with me, as always, PFF Senior Data Scientist Ben Brown, partner in crime. We are here to break down the College Football Playoff National Championship. We've got Alabama, Georgia. We're also going to touch just a little bit on Week 18, and we have some words for that. So let's get into it.
Football fans, I'm sure we all love an action-packed, high-scoring NFL game, but with the latest no-brainer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, you'll be a winner once a single point is scored. New customers who bet just $1 on any team to score can win $100 in free bets. It's just that simple. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still get in on the NFL action. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF. Bet $1 on any team to score and win $100 in free bets if they score. You score with promo code PFF this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We always review our Sundays, and we kind of have to. We had Andrew Erickson on with us to record, and I think, between you and I, we love Andrew. We have to apologize for him to our listeners. We just kind of have to apologize. We gotta own up to it, and I think that's where we have to start.
I mean, that's basically where we're at, right? I'm sorry. We thought it was a good idea. I mean, Andrew brought the heat, at least from a analysis perspective, but sometimes, people get nervous coming on the show with Kendall and I. It is a tough, role to fill, and Andrew apparently just did not live up to the expectations. I didn't have the greatest recommendations either on our podcast yesterday, so I will own a little bit of it, but I did at least find a couple winners, and of course your Debo Samuel call was probably the best one of the slate. So Andrew, we apologize for it, guys, because it was just not up to snuff. We're gonna have to reevaluate, see if he can come up with something to maybe show us some progress before we really invite him back. Here for this next Sunday,
we're owning up to it. We own up to it. We won't hide from it. Yeah, I think I'm looking through them, and I just don't even want to say them out loud. I mean, Elijah Mitchell, under 65.5 rushing yards.
So that one was mine. That was mine. The whole volume thing. That was the lower volume. I thought he was going to be a little bit lower volume. Obviously, Debo Samuel did get some touches, but basically nobody else did in that backfield. And of course, overtime as well. I think he was sitting I think he was sitting 1 yard over basically, and then overtime.
Yeah, and then overtime. And you kind of knew it was over too then when that happened. So then we had him. Debo did score, which was nice. I don't even want to talk about the Colts. The Colts don't deserve any of our time or attention. I don't know what that was. That was awful. I think I saw the funniest tweet when someone was like, 2 weeks ago, the Colts were a team that no one wanted to face in the playoffs, and now they're a team that no one gets to see in the playoffs. So that's it's like, what's going on?
Yeah, that was painful. That was painful. I do like a weekly Indianapolis hit, so I was, kind of not necessarily buying into the Chiefs or buying into the Colts heavily, but I was like kind of more interested or vested in their season and their outcome than what I would have typically been, just because I enjoy kind of doing the radio hit and those sorts of things with some people from Indianapolis. So I'm actually going to go through the painful process of writing up a single team feature here. Hopefully that's going to be out on Tuesday morning. Try to wrap a bow on what happened with this Indianapolis Colts team in 2021. But so make sure, if you do like pain, if you do want to hear a little more about the Colts, I will pour out my soul to that particular piece. But other than that, I can't say anything else. No, it was too disastrous and it's too close, hitting too close to home.
Yeah, we won't. We promise everyone that we will not talk about the Colts for until July. Like, we're just not even gonna mention them. Then our other ones, I mean, tough. Jonathan Taylor, like we just talked about. Michael Carter, over 35.5. That was a no. Higbee under 4 receptions. Marvin Jones under 4 receptions. So we're just gonna bring it up.
Those were the Andrew. Yeah. That was for the Andrew Erickson specials. We just gotta cut it off.
Yeah.
Right
So we apologize though. We are bringing it up, and we are just gonna get ahead of that. So hopefully you stick with us for this national championship preview. So we'll get into that. We do have a fun week of playoffs. We'll have full podcasts for you guys coming this week too to break those down. So that'll be fun. But let's talk Alabama, Georgia. They're meeting for the second time. We all remember what happened the first time these two teams met, which was, I don't know, been basically heartbreak for Georgia, essentially.
Right.
Yeah, rough.
They basically were never involved whatsoever, really, right? I do think Alabama kind of showed up, did exactly what you expected them to do, up 24-17 at halftime, and it just was. It was never really within reason for Georgia outside of that first quarter. It did seem like maybe their defense was going to be able to slow them down for at least one quarter, but that did not play out for the rest of the game, basically. So I don't know. I am seeing, based on some of our PFF betting models, those sorts of things, our output from our projections as well. It does seem like this could be a spot to potentially target some unders. I know we don't necessarily show a ton of value on the game total under 52. I do think it hasn't moved a whole lot either, but I think it's moved down basically from like 53.5 down to 52.
Okay.
I think we had some early value on this. We also had a little bit of value when the spread was at +3 for Alabama. So I expect them to maybe jump out to an early lead, and then we're probably going to see if Stetson Bennett could potentially bring the Georgia Bulldogs back. But I'm expecting a little bit of a lower scoring game, especially from what we saw in the SEC championship game. And I'm also expecting not as much, offensive showcase on either side of the football. So.
Cool. Well, before we get into props, I do want to bring up that, so the point spread, and this is from, I was reading this on ESPN, so the point spread for the championship game dropped Friday, with money showing up on the underdogs, Alabama, and moving the line really across all betting markets. So, like, multiple sports books had Alabama +3 Friday afternoon, and then it drove back a little bit to +2.5. So I think I want to start with your analysis just on the line, the little bit of line movement there, and just why Georgia is favored right now or just favored in general over Alabama.
Yeah, I definitely think it's because people still buy into the defense. Of course, that wasn't really slowing down Alabama's offense in the SEC title game. So take that with a grain of salt. I think, we were pretty heavily involved with Alabama in that match, both on the spread and money line. That worked out well for us. So getting a much lower spread, I think it was like 6.5, 7 in that matchup down to 3 makes a lot of sense. I have some Alabama +3, but 2.5 is a little bit obviously much different, not sitting on that key number for Alabama. So we didn't really show a ton of value at that price, but it sounds like at least, some of the bigger bettors, influential bettors, and those sorts of things are all leaning in Alabama's direction. I do think that's probably the only play that's really available on the game spread right now, for sure. So
cool. And what do you see this game going like? Like, are you taking Alabama? Are you thinking Georgia's going to pull this one out? What's your gauge on everything?
Yeah, I would say we're probably looking at, I know I say this quite often, but like a 14-3 game. Alabama's going to be up kind of at halftime. I do think it's going to be more of Brian Robinson Jr. leading the Alabama offense. I do think they're probably going to struggle a little bit throwing the football. So I do like, like Bryce Young under 310, under 314 passing yards. I think that's a really tough hill for him to climb. I'm projecting him closer to be like 270, 275, sort of in that range. So you are getting a lot of wiggle room on his under passing yards prop. I do think the better number is at FanDuel. DraftKings also has an opportunity to bet it as well. So, this is going to definitely be the most robust player prop market that we have for college football. So it's a lot of fun to take advantage of, but that is one that's just showing way too much value here as we kind of head into kick.
Yeah, I'm looking through our props rundown, and I think when you sent these over, this one was my favorite one, at least for me, because in the first game, what Alabama did was they essentially, Anthony Tresh, who is a PFF college analyst, wrote an amazing article, but essentially they played perfect ball against Georgia, right? I mean, Bryce Young his peak talent level was there. Like, he didn't have many mistakes. He had an elite processing ability, and he made these incredible plays, right? And so I think this game, and where those lines are at right now, is thinking that Bryce Young is going to replicate the performance that he had against Georgia in the first place. And I think that's going to be really tough to do because he didn't even take a sack and he didn't commit a turnover-worthy play. I mean, that's perfect for our accounts. That's perfect football essentially, and that's how that's how they were good.
Right. I mean, that's exactly it, right? He was basically had a perfect game, and obviously threw for 400 yards and all these other things. By far the best performance against the Georgia defense that we saw so far here in 2021. It was a lot of, not only like the depth of his completion, but also the yards after catch ability. No John Mechie in this particular game. Now, obviously, that's going to have some sort of impact on the Alabama offense, but I just don't see it being as easy for Alabama as what we saw in the SEC championship game. So I do think playing his under passing yards prop just makes way too much sense. They're not going to get it both from a depth perspective with where they're actually completing some of those passes, but they're also not going to get it after the catch either. And I do think both of those things were kind of spots that they've won. I'm looking back and kind of like the start of the third quarter, they hit like a 55-yard bomb touchdown that was kind of broke open the game in a lot of ways basically, and Alabama kind of put the final nail in the coffin at that point, ran away from them, and then it just wasn't a matchup after that. So I don't think that Georgia is going to be giving away any sort of big play in the passing game from Alabama's perspective. So it's going to be really difficult for Bryce Young to probably dip and dunk over this really inflated total. And in saying that, I also think like a guy like Ja'Cory Brooks, who's kind of filling in for John Mechie now that he's out, he's going to have a difficult time as well. I do think he probably has maybe the easiest matchup from an Alabama pass catching perspective, going up against Keely Ringo, who I think is probably going to see the majority of offensive snaps against him. He was the one that kind of allowed that deep Jameis Williams touchdown pass that we talked about a little bit ago. So I don't think that Georgia's going to be all that inclined to leave him in single coverage against Jameis and Williams. So I feel like we're going to see some one-on-one battles here, but I just don't think Brooks is really is essentially ready to win that one-on-one matchup. If he does, Alabama's going to have a really easy game in this national championship. But if he doesn't, I think it's going to probably stay here pretty close throughout. So.
And that kind of matches up with your Bryce Young under as well. Like putting these two together, I read in your article, parlayed together, it is a plus 179 payout or price. So I think I like both those together because that does go in line with what you think this game is going to look like. Right,
definitely. I mean, if I see if Brian Robinson is kind of the lead back focal point of this offense on one of those first or second kind of scoring drives, if they are kind of slowly progressing down the football field 14-3 at halftime, there's just no way that Bryce Young is going to go over his passing yards prop. There's no way Ja'Cory Brooks is the guy for that passing offense as well. So I like that parlay a little bit. I do think if you do it, you have to do it on a spot like FanDuel, so you are getting a little bit lower of Bryce Young passing yards number. I think it's at 310 at FanDuel, 314 at DraftKings. But I think given the payout on that parlay, it's definitely a spot where you can probably eat about 4 yards worth of opportunity in the passing game. And I think if it plays out like we expect, he's not going to come close to reaching 300 yards anyways.
Perfect. So. Well, we are betting against Nick Saban, so this could be another apology podcast come Wednesday of just like, we are so sorry. We bet against Alabama.
We'll never do it again.
We will never do it again. We'll never speak his name again. It's just so... do you ever... In the back of your mind, you have to be thinking like me, like, oh my gosh, we're betting against Nick Saban. Like, you don't think they can possibly do it again, and then they'll go out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily betting against them because I do have Alabama at +2. I do still think that is the best play. I'm more so saying like I think they might be up early and then they're kind of trying to do this sort of thing where they're salting away the victory in the second half, and it kind of comes down to if Stetson Bennett can potentially bring this Georgia offense back. That's kind of how I see the game playing out. I just don't think that Bryce Young and the passing offense probably won't have a ton of success. But I don't really think maybe they're going to need it because I do lean probably toward the under, like 52 as well.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, and that's kind of a great segue into you like James Cook for Georgia to go under his 43.5 receiving yards. So you really do think this is probably going to did you say a lower scoring game? for you.
Yeah, lower scoring game. This is and this it was just rushing yards. I had a typo in the thing that I sent you, of course. Yeah, that's my fault. But Cook's obviously kind of splitting carries with Zamir White, maybe getting just a little bit less of the usage than what Zamir White's been doing. I think White's kind of the guy, maybe more of the bruising type back. James Cook's going to be the guy mixed in, especially in the pass game if Georgia's down. So if you expect Alabama to be up, kind of like we talking about, maybe this isn't the best play to correlate with those other two props, but I think it's maybe a decent hedge to kind of say, like, he's going to be involved, especially in the pass game if Georgia's down. If not, it's going to be Zamir White, and he's probably going to finish under anyway. So I think the overall usage that he's seen is just a little bit his number here is probably just a little bit too high based on that usage. So I think probably him to go under rushing yards, given the expectation that Georgia probably won't have a ton of opportunities in the rushing game, especially in the second half, is kind of my projection for this matchup.
So I feel like the underlying, the key theme here, kind of like it was in the first game, is this Georgia defense. That is really what we're watching out for, because in Anthony Treash's article too, he pointed out when Georgia didn't blitz, Bryce Young completed 17 of 23 passes and 3 touchdowns while recording 3 big time throws. So you can't let him do that again, because then it's going to be a totally different game, and it's going to be like the first.
Right, exactly. I mean, and I do agree with you, and I do think that that is basically the matchup that Georgia absolutely has to win. It's a matchup they've won all season long, basically. Can their defense dictate and control the opposing team's offense? They weren't able to do that in their first game against Alabama. I do think that was Alabama's peak performance in a lot of scenarios, kind of their ceiling performance. They have had, obviously the injury to John Mechie is going to reshape some things for that. So I could see them potentially struggling a little bit, partially to do with Alabama's offense just not being as efficient, maybe not playing as close to that ceiling as they did in the SEC championship game, but then also Georgia having some sort of response, having some sort of ability to probably get off the field and also maybe more so control this Alabama offense. And I think at times we're definitely going to see pretty stagnant football here happening. So.
Okay, got it. See, if you were still in Cincinnati, we could have just driven to the game.
We could have just driven. I know a few people are going. I think Renner's going.
I think Renner's going. He's a little sick right now, but I do think he's still going.
Little sick. Yeah.
I do think he's going. We have the college football show. We're going live. We're going live. Or else I brought it up. I was like, I've never lived, Ohio is weird because you can drive so many different places in, shorter spans, like 4, 5, 2 hours. And so I was looking and I was like, this would be kind of fun to just drive up there, but we have the show, or else I would have gone. It would have been fun.
Right. I mean, you could still maybe go, but you'd have to probably leave a little. You might not be able to see, Tresh get the butter dumped on him. I think that is going to be your responsibility, right? You're doing the actual pouring of that one, or
I think it's Eric and I don't know. How this for people that don't know, Anthony Tresh, who we've been talking about, college football analyst, he thinks butter is fake, and however it got to it, he made a bet with Eric Eager, and he lost, and now he has to have warmed butter dumped on
lukewarm butter.
Gross.
I think Eric got the short end of that deal, because I don't think there's any way I could actually stomach eating Skyline chili, or whatever it is you actually want to call it. So I could handle some fake butter being poured. I mean, I think
I would take
no
fake
big
butter.
Deal. I think you'd smell. You probably smell pretty good for the next couple of weeks.
I don't know. Your hair is probably greasy, but Eric is kind of bad too. You're right, because he has to eat like $30 worth of Skyline, and I heard.
Oh, is that how much?
And I heard Skyline is not an expensive meal, so however much $30 is going to get you at Skyline, I don't know. But you guys should all tune in. We're just previewing it because it's going to be on Monday. I think around 6:30. So I think it'll be fun.
I'm booking action on if Eric Eager throws up on air or not. So if anybody wants action, get in my DMs. I'm definitely willing to take. I got one preferred side, but I'm looking for as much action as I can possibly.
There we go.
So hit me.
Generosity at its finest is hitting you.
The finest, right?
Perfect. Perfect. Well, I need a final score. I really want a final score prediction on you for this one.
I mean, I think Alabama's going to cover. Okay. I'm going to say 24-21. Lower scoring, kind of like we talked about. I do think that's probably where we end up here. Okay. So 45 points total score finishes a touchdown below, the current game total, and it's just not going to be as much of a, offensive showcase as I think what people project and what we saw in their first matchup.
Right.
So that's what I'm seeing.
All right, I'll take Georgia too. I'll do Georgia 27-24 or something. I don't know. I'm gonna go against you a little bit.
I want Alabama. I don't know if I said that
Yeah.
right. I want Alabama 24, Georgia 21.
Yeah, that's why I'm
that's my
going
take,
against you.
so-
I'm going to take Georgia.
All right,
I'll go. We'll do
Good.
this together. So now one of us will at least be right instead of us
Right.
going together.
You can't complain about that. You can't complain.
Really?
Now it's on you to decide who's actually going to be first. That's right.
Exactly.
So,
Any other wisdom you want to bestow upon us before we go tonight?
not much. Just enjoy. I mean, this
It'll be
is
fun.
peak college football at its
Finest.
finest
Yep,
for
it'll
sure.
be
So
fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
So-
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. As always, pff.com/betting. That is where you can get all our betting tools, the props, everything that Ben writes every week. You don't want to miss those. And thank you so much for listening.